Welcome, everyone. Today we're doing a deep dive into airborne intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, airborne ISR.
That's right.
We've gathered quite a bit of material that gives a really detailed picture of this whole field, where it is now, where it seems to be going.
Exactly. And just for anyone listening who maybe isn't, deep in the defense world, airborne ISR, it's essentially using aircraft, right? Planes and increasingly drones.
Right, drones are huge now,
Yeah, to gather intelligence. Think of them as the eyes and ears way up high.
providing that real-time picture.
Vital for military ops, security, even disaster response, actually.
So the core job is getting that recon data, situational awareness from the air.
Precisely. Giving a clear picture from above.
And what really jumps out from the sources is, well, this market is really moving.
Oh, yeah.
Steady growth, driven by the need for these capabilities, obviously, but also some really big leaps in tech, UAVs especially.
They're really taking off, you could say.
Yeah. But this growth, it feels like more than just spending. It feels like a shift in how intelligence is being prioritized.
I think that's right. It's fundamental. So today, we want to kind of unpack the key takeaways from all this info.
Yeah, let's distill it.
We'll look at the market size now, where it's headed, the big companies involved.
The tech side too, right? AI, sensors.
Absolutely. AI and sensors are huge drivers. And, the challenges too. It's not all smooth sailing.
Right. The goal is to give everyone listening a clear handle on this evolving landscape without getting totally bogged down in the jargon.
Get to the so what of it all.
Exactly. Okay, let's start with the current market then. What are the numbers looking like?
Okay, so the sources put the airborne ISR market in 2024 at around 12.8 billion US dollars.
12.8 billion. That's significant already.
It is. And the projection, this is interesting. By 2032, it's expected to hit over 19.2 billion.
Wow.
That's a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR of 5.2%.
5.2%. That really underlines how important this tech is becoming.
Definitely. And what's driving that? Well, it's a few things coming together. Defense budgets are up globally. That's a big one.
Always a factor.
Yeah. And just a wider recognition that you need sophisticated surveillance tech these days. Governments are really prioritizing investment here.
Yeah, you can see that. And it's not just more money. It's where the money is going, right? The sources show this big shift towards unmanned platforms. Drones.
Big time. Drones and also advanced radars like SAR synthetic aperture radar and EOIR systems, electro-optical infrared.
Can SAR see through clouds and stuff?
Exactly. All-weather surveillance. That's a huge advantage over just optical. These new technologies are really reshaping things.
And there was an example in the material, right? A big contract.
Yeah, a multi-billion-dollar contract back in 2023. A major defense contractor got it for AI-driven ISR systems.
AI-driven, not just standard system.
No, specifically for next-gen aircraft.
Yeah.
It signals as push towards more automation, faster analysis, maybe even faster decision-making down the line.
Right, potentially a real edge in critical situations. Okay, so that sets the stage. Market size, growth. Let's dig into the current trends then. We've got that $12.8 billion figure for 2024 in mind.
Okay, well, building on the drone point, the reliance on UAVs for ISR missions is it's a massive trend.
Makes sense. Cheaper in the long run, maybe?
Potentially, yeah, but also the endurance. They can stay up there for a very long time. Huge advantage for surveillance, military, and civilian uses.
Definitely. And the tech on the drones is evolving too, isn't it? Hyperspectral imaging.
Right, hyperspectral gives you much richer data, analyzing specific light wavelengths. Very detailed.
And the AI threat detection we mentioned.
Getting smarter all the time. AI can spot anomalies a human might miss, flag potential threats earlier.
Plus, secure data transmission. Gotta have that.
Absolutely essential. Encrypted links, secure networks. You can't have this data getting intercepted.
And connecting this tech to the real world, unfortunately, things like rising global tensions, conflicts, counterinsurgency, that all fuels demand, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. These high-performance ISR platforms are needed for all sorts of challenging missions globally.
Which brings us to the regions. How does this break down geographically?
Okay, so for 2024, North America is a leader. About 40% of the global market.
40%.
Europe is next, around 28%, then Asia-Pacific at 24%, and we're also seeing growing use in the Middle East and Africa.
So why North America? Just the U.S. defense budget?
That's a huge part of it, yes. Significant U.S. spending, continuous R&D, big modernization programs for their aircraft. It all drives demand for top-tier ISR.
Makes sense. And Europe's 28%.
A lot of that is increased investment by NATO countries. Plus, there's a push in Europe to develop their own next-gen reconnaissance aircraft.
Stimulates their own market.
Exactly. Now, Asia-Pacific at 24% is really interesting. You've got rising defense budgets in China, India, Japan.
And they're building up their drone fleets.
Significantly, driven by regional tensions, wanting more independent surveillance capability.
And the Middle East and Africa. You said growing adoption there too.
Yeah, the drivers there seem to be more focused on counterterrorism needs and border security challenges. Persistent surveillance is key for those.
It's interesting how the needs vary, but the underlying tech push is similar. Better sensors, faster data.
Integration with advanced platforms, that's the common thread everywhere. Manufacturers and defense agencies are all pushing for better capabilities.
Which must make the competition pretty fierce.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The sources describe it as intensely competitive, high stakes, demanding tech.
And the big players. We know the names generally, but who's leading the pack?
Right now, as of 2024, L3Harris Technologies has the biggest slice, about 14.2%.
Okay.
Then BAE Systems PLC with 12.3% and Northrop Grumman at 9.5%. Those are the top three really shaping things.
And their strategy isn't just building cleans, is it?
No, not at all. It's about pushing the tech forward, landing those key defense contracts, and crucially, integrating the latest sensors. That's the competitive edge.
And they're focusing on specific areas, like the sources mentioned unmanned platforms.
Yes, unmanned ISR is huge. Also, multi-domain interoperability, making sure air, land, sea forces can all share and use the intel seamlessly.
Like sharing drone video directly with troops on the ground.
Exactly. And with ships and command centers, getting everyone on the same page fast. That's the goal. Plus, strong government partnerships are always key.
And you can see how this competition links back to the broader trends, right? Modernization, electronic warfare, even space-based ISR.
It's all interconnected. These companies have to invest in where the military needs are going. Electronic warfare resilience is a big one now.
So we might see more M&A activity, mergers, joint ventures.
It seems likely. The material suggests potential moves to strengthen capabilities in things like ELINT, SIGINT electronic and signals intelligence, and then advanced SARTech. It's definitely a dynamic space.
Okay, so let's zoom out again. Where does airborne ISR fit in the overall global ISR picture? Ground, sea, space.
Well, in 2024, airborne systems made up about 38% of the total global ISR market.
38%. That's actually more than ground or naval surveillance.
It is, yeah. The sources suggest it's because of that rapid deployability and the wide coverage you get from the air.
Makes sense. You can get eyes on target faster and see a bigger area.
Precisely. And it's critical for so many things: border security, counterterrorism, maritime surveillance, battlefield recon, getting that timely, accurate data.
And compared to, say, ground patrols or fixed cameras, it's just more mobile, can stay on station longer.
Right. Better endurance, better detection capabilities. Often you can cover vast areas persistently, spotting things you might miss otherwise.
But the whole ISR landscape is changing, isn't it? It's not just about the planes anymore.
No, definitely not. While those high-flying drones and specialized aircraft are still vital, there's a big shift towards integrated multi-domain networks. Meaning pulling data together from everywhere: satellites, airborne sensors, ground sensors, even cyber intelligence, and then using AI to make sense of it all. It's a much more holistic approach.
A networked approach.
Exactly. And projections show airborne ISR slice of defense budgets likely growing by 2025, driven by buying more advanced drones, new aircraft, better sensor payloads.
Okay, let's dive deeper into that tech side then. AI, sensor fusion, real-time data. That seems to be where the revolution is really happening.
Absolutely. It's a rapid transformation. AI is being used for predictive analytics, machine learning.
How does that work in practice for ISR?
Well, AI algorithms can sift through massive amounts of sensor data, things like imagery or signals.
More than a human could process.
Way more. And they can spot subtle patterns, identify potential threats, maybe even predict actions much faster and sometimes more accurately than human analysts alone. It speeds up the whole intelligence cycle.
Better, faster decisions. And sensor fusion, how does AI help there?
Sensor fusion is about combining data from different types of sensors like SIGINT, EOR, SAR to get a richer picture.
Right, seeing through clouds with SAR, getting heat signatures with IR.
Exactly. AI helps fuse all that disparate data together, interprets it, and presents a single, coherent operational picture to the operators. It's like combining X-rays, MRIs, and blood tests for a diagnosis.
A much clearer picture. And getting that picture back quickly is vital.
Crucial. Real-time data transmission over secure cloud networks is key, getting the intel from the platform to the decision makers almost instantly.
And companies are actively developing this stuff. The sources mentioned examples from 2023.
Yeah, L3Harris was noted for its AI-powered multi-sensor fusion tech. BAE Systems got a contract to upgrade aircraft with better radar and comms, specifically for electronic warfare resilience.
Protecting against jamming and stuff.
Right. And Northrop Grumman was investing heavily in autonomous ISR aircraft, using AI for onboard threat detection.
So the big picture trend is more autonomous, more data-driven, more networked ISR.
That sums it up perfectly. And if you look at the regions again through that lens, North America's 45% share in 2024, it reflects that heavy R&D investment.
While Europe's demand is driven by NATO needs like border security.
And Asia-Pacific's fast growth comes from countries like China, India, Japan modernizing, wanting better maritime awareness.
Using these next-gen systems.
Exactly. The demand for this advanced airborne ISR is definitely set to accelerate globally.
Okay, so we've hit the market size, trends, regions, competition, tech. Let's focus specifically on the drivers again. What's really pushing this expansion?
Well, we've touched on it, but it's worth emphasizing. Rising defense spending is huge. But it's more than just budgets. It's governments prioritizing airborne ISR.
Recognizing its value.
Yes, for countering threats, supporting operations, securing borders, and they're specifically adopting these next-gen systems with AI, ML, advanced sensors.
Fleet modernization is a big piece too, right? Upgrading older planes, buying new drones.
Absolutely. Equipping them with better radar, EOIR, SIGINT, and yeah, those budget increases in the U.S., China, Europe are directly funding this.
And the global situation, rising tensions, asymmetric warfare. That increases the need.
Definitely. Complex conflicts really highlight the need for good overhead intelligence. You need to know what's happening on the ground, fast.
It's not just military anymore, is it?
No, that's important too. Homeland security, law enforcement, even disaster response are using these systems more. Border surveillance, search and rescue.
And AI helps there too. Real-time threat detection.
Yeah, spotting anomalies, tracking targets. The tech has broad applications.
But it can't be all positive news. What are the roadblocks? The restraints on growth?
Right, there are definitely challenges. A big one is just the cost. Developing and buying these advanced platforms with all the cutting-edge tech, it's expensive.
Very expensive.
Yeah, and that high cost can be a barrier, particularly for developing countries or agencies with tight budgets. It limits how widely these systems can be deployed.
And just getting them to work together. Integration.
That's another major hurdle, integrating these complex ISR systems into existing defense networks, different communication systems. It's technically very challenging.
Making everything talk to each other seamlessly. Interoperability.
Exactly. That's a huge focus, but it's difficult.
Plus, security concerns. Cyber threats.
Massive concern. These systems handle incredibly sensitive data. Protecting that data from cyber attacks is paramount and adds complexity and cost.
And finally, regulations. Export controls.
Yes. Governments restrict the sale of advanced ISR tech for national security reasons. Understandable, but it can limit the global market reach for manufacturers and hinder international collaboration sometimes.
So despite the strong growth, there are definitely significant hurdles to overcome. Okay, let's look ahead then. What future developments are expected?
Well, one specific thing mentioned was the Even Load Light system, launched by SPX Communication Technologies in September 2024.
Even Load Light, what does it do?
It's basically a new data transmission solution for airborne platforms. High performance, but also lightweight and, importantly, more cost-effective.
Addressing that cost issue somewhat?
Potentially, yeah. But the main benefit is enhancing real-time data sharing, making intelligence collection and dissemination smoother, faster.
Better connectivity, less weight on the aircraft, faster processing.
Exactly. More secure, reliable comms for ISR missions. That's a key enabler.
Sounds important. What other big future trends? More AI and autonomy?
Definitely. Expect to see more deployment of AI-powered autonomous ISR platforms. AI handling more tasks like target ID, threat assessment, even mission planning, with less direct human control.
Smarter drones doing more on their own.
Pretty much. Coupled with developing next-gen UAVs that can fly longer, are harder to detect low observability, and have even better sensor fusion. More capable, more versatile unmanned systems.
So those ongoing modernization programs we keep mentioning, they're really going to keep driving demand for these advanced systems.
Absolutely. The future looks like continued innovation, continued growth, driven by these complex global needs for better intelligence and security.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. We've covered a lot of ground on the airborne ISR market.
We have.
We've seen its significant size, the strong projected growth, driven especially by AI and UAV advancements.
Uh-huh. We identified the key companies, the regional dynamics, and new tech like that even load light system, improving connectivity.
We also touched on the challenges, right? Cost, integration, complexity.
Definitely hurdles, but the overall direction is clearly towards expansion and innovation in this really critical sector.
And it's clear that airborne ISR is just becoming more and more vital for defense and security, given the complex global threats we face.
Absolutely. And its uses are expanding beyond the military, too,
Yeah.
into disaster response and other areas, showing its broader impact.
Which leaves us with maybe a final thought for our listeners to ponder.
Yeah, something to think about. With all these rapid advances in AI and autonomy and airborne ISR, what are the wider implications? Ethically, strategically?
For how intelligence gets gathered and how it's acted on.
Exactly, both in the military sphere but also in civilian life, as these technologies potentially become more widespread. It goes beyond just the market numbers, doesn't it?
It really does. Something fundamental about technology, intelligence, and decision-making in the future. A lot to think about there.